This movie review is a largely forgotten 1988 police crime suspense film titled Cop. It stars James Woods as a rough, tough Los Angeles detective, Sergeant Lloyd Hopkins. Now, Hopkins is a gritty policeman with a wife named Jen and a young daughter named Penny. His wife Jen is not a fan of his rough personality and doesn't like the police stories he tells to their young daughter Penny. With his personal life in disarray, Hopkins immerses himself in his police work.
Jesus Christ.
He soon finds a young woman brutally murdered in a house in Hollywood and tracks down an escort she knew named Joni Pratt, played by actress Randy Brooks.
Now, what I need from you is to tell me all you can about Julia, including what these sex ads are about.
Look, there was nothing wrong or illegal.
Jesus Christ, I don't give a shit if the two of you were fucking each other in a bathtub of cocaine. All I care about is stopping this maniac before he kills again. Do you understand?
Now, Joni Pratt had sold drugs and had a connection to the victim, so Hopkins gets information out of her on multiple occasions.
Grieve me more than all the rest. All the rest.
He quickly becomes convinced that there is a serial killer who has killed for decades, preying on innocent-looking women in the Hollywood area, and he vows to track the murderer down no matter what it takes. His superior, Captain Fred Gaffney, played by actor Raymond J. Barry, is an extremely devout man, often skeptical of Hopkins' theories and disapproving of his personal life.
It's too old. Too vague, too costly, and too potentially embarrassing to the department.
That's bullshit.
Don't talk to me about bullshit, Hopkins. Everyone knows you have a wild hair up your ass about murdered women. And if you really cared about God, you'd first ask him to help you with your personal life.
Charles Durning plays a fellow officer named Dutch Pelps, with whom Hopkins works, who almost acts like a mentor to the younger and more hot-tempered Hopkins.
Does this mean you heard about my run-in with Gaffney?
The fucking A I heard about it. You think Gaffney's gonna let me forget you are, my boy?
What's wrong about this one, Dutch? We've got ourselves a serial killer, and there's no way I'm going to get him without the help I need. 5 guys. That's all I ask.
I already used all my clout to save your ass. Now you want me to put it back on the line?
You'll also see actor Charles Hayde, best known for his role as Officer Andy Ranko on the 1980s smash hit television show Hill Street Blues. He plays a corrupt deputy sheriff who gets involved in Hopkins' investigation. Hopkins discovers feminist poetry on the bookshelf of a victim, and this leads him to a woman named Kathleen McCarthy, played by actress Lesley Ann Warren, who runs a feminist bookstore and has secrets of her own that soon converge into Hopkins' investigation.
Look, Ms. McCarthy, I don't want to tell you the condition in which I found the Niemeyer woman. But I will tell you the poem was written in human blood.
God.
His own, probably, which gives you some idea of the kind of psychopath we're dealing with.
While this film is not a constant shoot-'em-up action movie, it contains some pretty graphic murder scenes and some really intense realistic dialogue. James Woods is perfect as the gritty, tough-minded, and often womanizing detective.
Christ. He must have been in the house the whole time.
Who?
The killer. Who do you think took this picture?
Hopkins, what I want to know is, what were you doing there?
What was I doing there? What the fuck does it look like I was doing there?
Directed by James B. Harris, this film is an adaptation of the 1984 crime novel Blood on the Moon by author James Ellroy, which was the first of 3 novels of the Lloyd Hopkins trilogy. Incidentally, this movie was originally titled Blood on the Moon. However, Atlantic, the studio behind the picture, wanted to retitle it Cop because they were afraid that audiences would think it was a slasher movie if it was called Blood on the Moon. The novel Blood on the Moon, upon which this is based, was rejected by 17 publishers due to its violent content. And yes, this is a violent movie. Not the most violent, but a very gritty film. Director James B. Harris was browsing in a bookstore when he found this 1984 novel, and after he read it, he wanted to collaborate with James Woods. James Woods was a fellow crime story enthusiast. Harris optioned the book and wrote the adaptation specifically with James Woods in mind for the lead role. John Petovich from the Los Angeles Police Department Robbery Homicide Division was brought in as a technical advisor in order to help make the film look and be as realistic as possible. The apartment complex that James Woods goes to and discovers the first grisly murder scene is actually the same complex where they filmed Scream 3, which came out in 2000. Now, unfortunately, the other two Lloyd Hopkins novels were never adapted to film. James Woods would have been great continuing as Lloyd Hopkins in a sequel. In fact, in 2017, Tom Hanks told the New York Times he would be interested in playing the role of Lloyd Hopkins in any future installment. According to James Woods, Oliver Stone was going to offer him the lead role in the film Wall Street, but he decided to make Cop instead. Sadly, Atlantic, the studio behind the film, had financial difficulties and couldn't publicize or advertise the movie very much, so it only made about $2 million at the box office. Atlantic Entertainment Group went defunct in 1989. Now, I actually first saw this on cable late at night back in the late 90s, and it definitely holds up. Now, it is a bit dated as far as payphones and all the cigarette smoking, but as far as a late-night, popcorn, gritty movie, this one works. Now, I don't know Mr. James Woods personally, but from what I know about him, he's got a really cool personality. And I think he brings a lot of his own real-life persona into the character of Lloyd Hopkins from the novel. And it works.
You'd make up anything to hurt me, wouldn't you?
Did I make up the dates of the murders? Did I make up the dates he sent you the flowers? For 15 years, they've been within a day of each other every time.
This is insane.
Jesus Christ, she's supposed to be a feminist. Don't you give a shit about all the innocent women this lunatic has been killing?
I recommend the film Cop.